Bring it up.
Because the brother mentioned, the scourges, and when you have children, you gotta whoop them sometimes.
That's right.
But then 10 minutes later or an hour later, they go back to doing the same thing.
That's right. And not only that, if I may add, they actually will have a higher level of respect for you.
Right.
Because you've given them rules, you set boundaries.
Right.
Right? You're not just going to allow them to run all over you or do whatever they want to do.
And this is Proverbs 22:6. It says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. Okay, so like the brother was saying, the Lord chastises who he loves. If you have a parent that just lets you do anything and runs over you, there'll be no respect from your child towards the parent.
That's right.
And that child will not be trained in the way the parent wants him to act when even when he's around or when he's not around.
That's right.
Because the integrity is better displayed when the parent is not around.
Right.
to check the child. Then you can see if the child has actually learned what the parent was trying to show them.
That's right. Train up a child in the way that they should go. So when they grow, get this in Matthew 18:3. So when they grow, they won't depart from it. Right? That goes right back into Easter. And this is an evil lesson that's being taught from the parent to the child. A lot of children, they wouldn't know anything about Easter unless it was the parents actually putting this bottle on their child, forcing them to drink it. Here it is, they running the child to the church, and you done went to Polo. You done went to H&M. The train. A child don't know anything about Easter.
Right.
Everything learned is imitated. That influence comes from somewhere.
Right.
And the majority of the time, it's not the school, although the school is a major agent to keep our child, influenced to partake in the society's customs, right? But the main agent, right, the school is really there to reinforce what the parent has already taught the child.
Right.
The school not there to teach your child.
Right.
You still have the burden of what? Training up the child in the way that they should go.
Right.
And the school can reinforce the positive things that you want your child to know. You can even reject what curriculum the school is trying to impose on your child that doesn't line up with your customs. You can still teach your child the right way, right? But this is exactly what's going on today. The mother has already bought an outfit, a big yellow dress with some shiny yellow shoes to put on her daughter. Easter speeches. Here in Babylon, America, that's a big major thing. They'll incorporate the child into the whole ceremony. Here it is, a lot of times during the church ceremony on Easter or on the Easter Sunday night. They're going to bring you there and invite you at night to get some more of that damn bread. Right? But what will happen is the children from the church indoctrinated by the parents to give an Easter speech. And they all go up before the church, all eyes on them. Parents love their child. You love your children. So if everyone is looking at your child and clapping at your child, the parent vicariously gets that praise. Right? There's no separation. So the parent is the one that's the main agent, right? The main entity that's taking their child to these churches and have them to partake in these wicked customs, Easter speeches, Easter egg hunts. Train up a child in the way that they should go, right? Get this in, matter of fact, you hold this up.
This is Matthew 18:2. It says, and Yahushua called a little child unto him and set him in the midst of them and said, verily I say unto you, except ye be converted and become as little children, ye shall not enter the kingdom of heaven.
Hey, going right back into us being children, right? Just like we have children, we had to come to the point in subduing, get 2 Edges 13 and 34. We had to come to that point in subduing our own understanding and humbling ourselves, because that word humble actually has a meaning. It means humiliate, because when you have to set aside everything that you identify with, right, and you have to take on something that's new and unknown, right, you have to accept that, hey, what I thought I knew is something that's not valid, something that's obsolete to my growing in this faith. Hey, that's humiliating for you to say, I don't know, teach me, right? You have to subdue your ego, right? Suppress your pride. We all had to encounter, right, this actual experience before we came on this path to knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. We had to put aside everything we thought that we knew, just like a child. You know, when you tell a child to do something, the main thing you don't want to hear from that child is why. You know, you hear that from little Edomite children, and mama tells them, go sit down. Why? And she'll get a little motherfucker explanation. When, hey, everything that we take on, it says that in 2 Adhere 5 and 23, everything that we've been given has been given to us for our good. It's to be of benefit, right? Even the dietary laws, ceremonial laws, civil laws, how we treat one another, when we observe them, we are made prosperous. We have an advantage. So a lot of people, they want to ask why. Why? Well, the Heavenly Father doesn't owe us an explanation, right? He could have just cast us off, but because he made that covenant with our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, he left us an explanation on who we are, why we're here, and how we're going to get out of it, right? That's why we have hope. In what? Prophecy, the words that are written, the things that are sure, right? So we even have the why. Badass child, he's not just telling us what we need to do, but he's telling us why.
You got your how, why, when, where, and what.
Now, just like the dietary laws in Leviticus, let's say Leviticus 20 and 16 about us not eating the swine's flesh. It tells us that it's unclean unto you. It's abominable. It's something that is going to be adverse to your physiology. It's not going to tell you about the trichina worm. It's not going to tell you about gout and high blood cholesterol. But it just said that it's unclean to you. See what I'm saying? But a part of subduing your own understanding, humbling down, is not asking why. Why shouldn't we eat the pork? It tastes good. I cook it over syrup. See, y'all, those rebellious, wicked children that ask why. When, just do what you told, right? You can run what you got. 2 Adhere 13 and 34.
2 Adhere 13 and 34.
2 Adhere 14, 34. I said 13 and 34, so like your brother. 2 Adhere 14 and 34.
2 Adhere 14 and 34. Therefore it so be that ye will subdue your own understanding and reform your hearts, ye shall be kept alive, and after death ye shall obtain mercy.
Hey,
for after death shall the judgment come, when we shall live again. And then shall the names of the righteous be manifest, and the works of the ungodly shall be declared.
Hey, it said, therefore, if you will what? Subdue your own understanding. Right? It said, trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and do what? Lean not on your own understanding. Because your own understanding is coming, get this in Proverbs 28 and 26. Your own understanding is coming from Jeremiah 17 and 9, that deceitful, wicked heart. That's totally removed from the knowledge of the Most High, so you have to be retaught again. Right? The Heavenly Father allowed us to go through the worst captivity that we as Israelites have been through, where we lost the knowledge of us being Israelites wholesale. Right? So a part of us coming back into the knowledge of who we once were is for us to be brainwashed by this word. Right? You remember what you got?
Proverbs 28 and 26. He that trusteth in his own heart is a fool.
Hey, that's why it says, hey, trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not on our own understanding in Proverbs 3 and 5. Here in Proverbs 28 and 26, bring this out, brother.
Proverbs 28 and 26. He that trusteth in his own heart is a fool, but whosoever walketh wisely shall be delivered.
Hey, it said, he that trusteth in his own heart is a fool. Right? He that walketh wisely, it said, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. He that walketh wisely, what? Bring this out.
He that trusteth in his own heart is a fool, But whoso walketh wisely shall be delivered.
Hey, whosoever walketh wisely shall be delivered. Bring this out in 1 Timothy 1 and 9. Right? He that trusteth in his own heart is a fool. Right? It said a fool is said in his heart that there's no God. I believe that's Proverbs 28, right? Or Psalm 53. But it said he that trusteth in his own heart is a fool. Those that don't want to subdue their own understanding, those that don't want to seek out the old path and come back into the commonwealth of Israel, it's calling y'all fools. Right? That's pride, essentially. Yeah, that's pride, essentially. Our people thinking that they're going to have allotted time. Ecclesiastes 8:11, sentence against an evil work isn't executed speedily. They think that they could still have that Bible there and plan a time that they want to crack it open. And then they want to cross-reference it with the Quran. They want to cross-reference it with some other school of thought. Right? That's the mind. This is why you need to subdue your own understanding. And this is going to so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. Y'all are the Israelites. This doesn't pertain to the other 17 nations that come out of Adam. Right? The Lord's people, wherever they're scattered, this applies to them. Right? It said it's the spirit that bears witness with our spirit in Romans 8 and 16. If you can bear witness with these precepts, if you feel convicted, when you hear about the things that you have been doing that you shouldn't do, hey, that's an indicator that you're the Lord's people. Because it said none of the wicked will understand, right? So what comes out of a man's heart, right? Proverbs 28 and 26, he that trusteth in his heart is a fool. Why? What comes out of the hearts of men? All right, you can bring what you got.
1 Timothy 1 and 9. Knowing this, that the law is not made for a righteous man, but for the lawless and disobedient, for the ungodly and for the sinners, for unholy and profane, for murderers of fathers and murderers of mothers, for manslayers, for whoremongers, for them that defile themselves with mankind, for men stealers, for liars, for perjury persons, and if there be any other thing that is contrary to sound doctrine.
Hey, that's what the law was made for, right? The laws was given to Moses that he gave to the children of Israel on how they're supposed to conduct themselves, how they're supposed to entreat one another, and how they're supposed to entreat the nations, right? That's what the law was made for, because that's essentially what the whole house of Israel is. All of those negative attributes and characteristics that you heard, this is why the law is there as a schoolmaster. So we can pretty much check ourselves. You know, it says in the scriptures that when it talks about rebuking yourself, work out your own salvation, right? With fear and trembling, right? This is the biggest battle, the battle that we have with ourselves, right? That wicked nigga that's inside of us. He needs to be subdued. Subdued how? Through the scriptures. Whatever we think is right, the Bible tells us what is the right way. Right? Give me this in Mark 7 and 21. The Bible tells us. Right? It straightens us out. Right? And this is our righteousness. If we boast in anything, we boast that we have the knowledge of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shah. We have the understanding of these scriptures. He's been revealed to us in this time. You see that? You can bring that out in the book of Mark 7, 21.
Mark 7 and 21. For from within, out of the heart of men, proceed evil thoughts.
Hey, because it said, he that trusteth in his heart is a fool. Right? Bring this out one more time.
Mark 7 and 21. For from within, out of the hearts of men, proceed evil thoughts, adulteries, fornications, murders, thefts, covetousness, wickedness, deceit, lasciviousness, an evil eye, blasphemy, pride, foolishness. All these things come from within and defile the man.
Hey, that comes from within and defiles a man. The heart, the mind, the liar is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Proverbs 28 and 26 said, he that trusteth in his heart is a fool. Why? Because we have a law. We don't have to lean on our own understanding. Proverbs 3 and 5, trust in the what? Lord with all your heart. And lean not on your own understanding. So do your own understanding. Right? Put that shit to the side. Whatever you think you know, whatever you think is a benefit, erase that. You remember Men in Black, how you hit them with that, you know, erase their mind from whatever content is in it that he don't want them to have. Right? This is what we're out to do. Hit you with that righteous nebulizer. You know what I'm saying? Hit you with the brainwashing. Yeah, exactly. Cleanse your mind of all of the filth that you think you know. Right? Jake, here it is. He thought that the new year began back on December the 25th. Right? And we are here to tell you the new year don't begin in the dead of winter. Right? That's just a small example of how we have the dirty job of cleansing the minds of our people. Right? Get this in 2 Timothy 4 and 2. Right? But that's what it's all about. Putting what you think you know to the side. And truthfully, when I first came into the ministry, I was already fully persuaded that this was the truth. So I didn't have to hear or see anything to know. You know, I didn't have to hear a fire precept or hear some eloquent speaker. No, I knew it was the truth. I just had to pretty much everything that I thought I knew, just continue to listen. And throughout the duration of me listening, weeks, months, years, everything that I had an issue with was addressed. All of the things that I thought were right, I've listened to a brother, right? Probably a brother that I'll never meet in person, but he set me on the right course, right? He put that eye salve on my ears, right? Through the power and inspiration of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua, of course. But that's what I had to do. Sit down with a pen and paper and expect to hear something new. And the brothers never let me down. You know what I'm saying? To this day, I could sit and I could watch any random brother from any random camp with a pen and paper, and he's going to say something, even if I've heard the precept, the way that he brings it out, the way that he brings the senses out, it's refreshing to my spirit, right? The scriptures never get old, right? Because it's just like if you're in a court, if you're a witness, that witness story, if it changes, he's not a credible witness. People act like y'all still teaching the same thing. Yes, a witness story or testimony is not supposed to change, right? It's supposed to stay the same.
But when you read the scriptures, the Lord says the same thing with different prophets to let you know that it's coincided with the same thought.
That's right.
You know, you have Revelations and Esdras saying the same thing, but in the way Esdras put it, you can still see it in Revelation.
That's right. That's right. Just like John the Revelator and Daniel. You know what I'm saying? The time and dividing of a time.
Yeah.
You know, they saw the same prophecy pertaining to the same people. But the way that they brought out the senses, it was different. The spirit of the prophets is subject to the prophets. But like the brother said, they're perfectly joined together in understanding. Right? It says that in 1 Corinthians 1 and 10 that there be no divisions among you. Amos 3 and 3 says, can two walk together except they be agreed? Agreed in doctrine. Right? And that's what this Bible is. You know, a lot of people have tried to come up against the Bible, but with a diligent search, it's ironclad. I mean, it withstands the test of time. Why? Because it's truth. It's the truth. Right? Divinely inspired by the most high power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Right? Oh, you can bring it.
This is 2 Timothy 4 and 2. Preach the word. Be instant, in season, out of season. Reprove, rebuke, exhort with all long suffering and doctrine. For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine.
Hey, it said rebuke. Right? That's one thing, cry aloud, Isaiah 58. Right. Don't spare their feelings, but tell them where they're going off according to the law. Right? It said here, rebuke them, because the time will come, according to prophecy, where they don't want to hear sound doctrine. Right. We've touched on that earlier. Teach unto us smooth things. Right? Go ahead.
Okay. 2 Timothy 4:2. Preach the word. Be instant in season, out of season, reprove, rebuke, exhort with all long-suffering and doctrine. For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but after their own lust shall they heap to themselves teachers, having itchy ears.
Having itching ears. Easter egg hunts. Here it is in the middle of the church. You have a Babylonian fertility ritual being observed, a full-fledged Christmas tree with wreaths all around the church. Itching ears, telling them a message that things are going to get greater, a prosperity doctrine. You know, not telling them that soon this whole system is going to be turned upside down. Not telling them, you know, a message of destruction, but rather saying peace, peace, when there's no peace, right? And it's saying this is what the people will want to hear. They don't want to hear the truth. They want to be lied to, right? They don't want to be told what's real, but rather they want something that'll feed their delusion. They want this idea that this system is going to continue to thrive and flourish. And whatever they work for, they're going to be able to give it to their children. So their children could be in their captivity observing Christmas, right? Buying Christmas gifts for their children, right? Psalms 49:11 says their inward thought is that this house will continue for all generations, and the dwelling place will continue to be inhabited. But the Bible, according to prophecy, right? Revelation 19:10 says, the spirit of who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, if he was here in this physical captivity, the spirit that he will be moving in is the spirit of prophecy, telling the people what's going to happen, giving the people warning, Ezekiel 3:17, telling them what they should do in hopes that they obtain mercy and salvation, right? But this is not what's being taught by the church. They understand what needs to be told to them to keep those asses in those seats. They understand what needs not to be said so that those women, which is 80% of the church, don't get offended, right? It said itching ears. They don't want a message that's not gonna go against their heart's lust. They want to think that, hey, they're going to continue to go to the vestibule of these churches. They're going to continue to go to their job. They're going to continue to go to the fully stocked grocery store. They're going to continue to pass by the white man and he calls you sister. No, all of these things that are, you know, the status quo is going to be flipped upside down as according to prophecy, right? You got a precept there, sir? Oh yeah, con. Hey, and you know, just like the brother was just reading in the scriptures about the itching ears, right? The Roman Catholic Church, you know, they were the ones that brought, well, the Holy Roman Empire was a bunch of wicked jakes, right? And the Roman Catholic, the Roman Empire, because Constantine, you know, really with Julius Caesar, right? That's what brought in the revised Roman Empire. But the Holy Roman Empire, like Constantine, those were wicked jakes. That's why, you know, King James was the one that united Ireland and Great Britain. That's why he was taken out of power. You know, this is why iconoclasm became a thing. The book of Maccabees kind of goes into when the so-called white man came into power. And a lot of our people, it said that in 1 Maccabees 1:11, it said that our leaders, they wouldn't do what was right, but they started to sacrifice things that were unclean, swine's flesh and things of that nature, when the so-called white man came into the stead. After we were dilapidated from sitting in our steads in the Holy Roman Empire in, you know, Europe and on the, you know, what you would call the West. Because when you eat Etruscans, when you're dealing with the Iberians, all of those were, you know, melanated men of color. Those Japhetic people that were in the interiors of Europe, you know, were people of color. Even, you know, a lot of them were Jake that had instrumental roles in the church at the point that a lot of Israelite leaders, King Solomon, you know, at the point when he went out of power, you know, the tribes were split up.
Right.
You know, our nation was divided. And, you know, with King James, you know, he was instrumental in bringing the kingdom of Ireland and Great Britain back together, so-called black man. Right. Just to let you know that at one point, you know, when you look at the Roman Empire, the Roman Catholic Church today, we look at it like, you know, the vicar of Christ, the so-called Pope, a so-called white man with a fish head on his head. But it was at one point, you know, the white man, he's not original. He goes throughout the earth calling lands after his own name. You know, stealing identities of people, stealing their whole customs and religion, stealing their whole entire culture. But we're letting you know that, hey, we were once the ones that were innovative in propagating these different pagan customs in the earth. And the white man today, he's the one that's, you know, the one that's quarterbacking, administrating it through the Roman Catholic Church, through the Vatican. Because that word Catholic, me and the brother, we went into this earlier, it means universally accepted. So this is why the Holy Roman Empire, right, the Holy Roman Church started to accept a lot of these different pagan customs because they wanted to bring more people into the church, right? And you see that these same practices continuing today. It's about bringing people in to get more power, more influence, more money.
I just got an excerpt from a quick article I was going to go through to validate, you know, all the brother was saying, where these customs of Easter originated from. So it says Easter was originally the celebration of Ishtar, the Assyrian and Babylonian goddess of fertility and sex. Her symbols, the egg and bunny, were still and all fertility and sex symbols, or did actually the egg and the bunnies have anything to do with the resurrection? You know, because, you know, Easter supposedly is the resurrection of the Lord, according to the Holy Roman Empire or whatever. But it has nothing to do with that. And it also says after Constantine decided to Christianize the empire, Easter was changed to represent Yahushua, the one they ignorantly called Jesus. But at its roots, Easter was how you pronounce it, Ishtar.
Right. And they say that the hare or the rabbit represents fertility. Or, you know, sexual virility. Yeah. You know, even Julius Caesar, they wouldn't even eat the hare during his time.
Right.
Because of its importance in religious customs and practices. Right. You know, they gave the hare a proper burial. You know, even the Virgin Mary, in a lot of those different depictions of her, she'll have the rabbit with her, the hare, to represent her ability to overcome sexual lust.
Like the brother was saying, there's actually a ritual in the United Kingdom right now where they actually go and hunt the hares, and they make a rabbit pie. They chop up the rabbit and they eat the rabbit as a pie, you know, and it's some kind of ritual they do to you know, take on the attributes of the rabbit for fertility and sexual prowess.
Right. Oh, they're shooting.
Oh, shit.
There's some shooting going on up here. Hey, if it is, that's judgment of the Most High. You know, 1 Samuel 2 and 6, Psalm 68 and 20. Did somebody get shot? Well, we'll keep flowing through the common spirit. Like I was saying, this energy that people observed in modern time Babylon is the same energy that was being observed in ancient Babylon. Right? From ancient Babylon to our, like I said, Assyrian, to our Persian Medio captivity, you know, to our Egyptian captivity, to our Roman and Greek captivity. These different deities of this same energy is being observed, right? Essentially that Queen of Heaven worship, right? You know, there's going to be a lot going on over here. So when you're dealing with Horus, Set, you're dealing with Isis, you're dealing with Ishtar. These are the same energies, just in different captivities. Just like in this modern time, the same Queen of Heaven worship, that's the Jesus having a mother, being born of a virgin. You know, where they want to look at that feminine principle, and you know they want to worship it the same as our people have in their different captivities. Right? Get this in Ezekiel 22 and 26. There's a lot going on around us right now, but the main agent that's supposed to be raising up our people in knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of the Bible, right? Crying aloud, sparing not, showing them their transgression, rebuking them, reproving them, is the so-called Christian church, which we call plantation Christianity. Because in this present time, the same thing that's being observed in the, 501c3, mainstream Christian churches, the same doctrine that our people were being pushed on them in slavery. The same understanding, right? It's not a new song being taught in the church, but that's exactly what we're out here to do. The job of the church was to tell our people where they're going off, right? Where they're committing sin. Because sin is transgression of the law. We have laws that we're supposed to observe. And if you observe the law, hey, you have an advantage in your captivity. But if you don't observe the law, this is why our people are at the bottom. This is why we are the face of everything negative. And we're suffering in the earth right now. Not because the white man is upset with us, but because the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is upset with us. 1 second, I'm going to bring the scripture out. I got you. You run with you, guys.
Ezekiel 22 and 26.
Go ahead.
Her priests have violated my law and have profaned mine holy things.
Hey, we've been called to be a nation of kings and priests. At one point, the Levitical priesthood was the ones that were responsible for going throughout the other 11 tribes and administrating the law, telling them where they're going off at according to the law. Right? It said her priests have violated my law. Right? These are your modern day pastors. Right? May he rest in peace, your Eddie Longs, your Creflo dollar bills. These are the ones that are supposed to be telling these women that they need to cover themselves up. According to Deuteronomy 22 and 5. They're supposed to be telling these men stop crawling in each other's ass and rectums. According to Leviticus 20 and 16. Right? Correcting them. Rebuking them. Because there's a rebuke that's not common. All rebukes ain't gonna make you feel good. Sometimes that rebuke gonna make you feel shitty. But if you actually listen and you apply the change, you will improve. Because that's what love is. If I see that tissue on your heel and I don't step on it, I'm not a brother. Somebody got shot up here? Oh, so he's telling them to go back. Right? Hey, if you do what's right, then it will be a benefit. Right? And what's right is us correcting you according to this word, right? It said her priests have violated my law. Go ahead.
Her priests have violated my law and have profaned my holy things. They have put no difference between the holy and profane.
Hey, because The church, the temple of God, is holy. But how do they profane it? By going into church, having an Easter egg hunt, putting Christmas trees in there, LGBT all up in the choir and directing the choir. Right? It said that they have profaned my holy things, because profanity is anything outside of sound doctrine. Right? Telling a woman that she could be the pastor of a church. Profanity. Right? Go ahead.
Neither have they shewed difference between the unclean and the clean.
Hey, because you could go to church and go to the fellowship hall and eat a pork chop dinner. After church, they don't put a difference between the clean and the unclean. You're not going to be in the middle of the church and someone tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, you need to leave out and come back with some presentable attire. That's unclean. That's unacceptable. That's not an agent that's going to rebuke our people and raise them up. Bring this out one more time, about shot from the top.
Ezekiel 22 and 26.
Now they're looking for the niggas.
A priest have violated my law and have profaned mine holy things. They have put no difference between the holy and profane. Neither have they shewed difference between the unclean and the clean.
Hey, you go to church, they're going to push slackness on you. They're not going to push the fear of the Lord on you. They're not going to tell you what you shouldn't do or what you need to be doing so that you don't be destroyed. But rather, you could come in that church with a tight pencil skirt on, and the pastor going to be trying to look in at that twat between them legs. He's supposed to be the main one telling you to turn around, but rather the pastors, they have the nasty reputation of sleeping with different women in the church. They don't put a difference between what's clean and what's unclean. Right? You go ahead, brother. You got a question?
Okay, let me give you an example of what you just said. Pastor Jamal Bryant.
Jamal Bryant.
Yes, he's one of them, yeah.
He's at New Birth.
Yeah.
He's Eddie Long's predecessor. Yeah, that's an excellent example. Jamal Bryant. He actually had Kanye West up in his church giving concerts. You know, Kanye had that thing called church service, Sunday service.
Yes.
And he allowed him to go in his church and do his skullduggery. Yeah, but Jamal Bryant, have you ever been to that church?
Okay, let me say this. Years ago, when I was homeless, this was years ago, I went to New Birth. I mean, not
World Changes.
No, I went to New Birth.
World Changes is Creflo.
I never been to World Changes. I've been to New Birth. This is when I was homeless. And I needed clothes, I needed some food, and they did a little something for the homeless. You know what I'm saying?
That's good.
Yeah. I went there just for that.
That's good. Hey, and that lets you know, Jake, he'll come to the church if you got some, handouts or giveaways, some clothes, some food. But the true food is this word.
Yes.
Right? Because just like he said he went to New Birth, Jamal Bryant, Eddie Long's predecessor, he said when he went there, he was given a level of support. They're 501c3. So they're tax exempt organizations. There's supposed to be a division between church and state. But so they can be tax exempt, they actually these preachers actually make an oath with the state. The same way a teacher has to take an oath. So they can't, a doctor has to take a Hippocratic oath, but a teacher, she cannot go into the school and teach whatever she wants. She has a curriculum that's mandated by the state, that's mandated by the federal government, that's mandated by the elite, right? So the preachers can't go in their church and preach the truth of the Bible, but rather they have a curriculum. So if you want to be fed the truth of the Bible, that the so-called white man is the devil, that the Bible speaks of, the preacher will never utter those words. Oh, the Bible speaks of a devil and it's a so-called white man. He won't be able to go into that doctrine. He won't be able to go into that breakdown. You know why? Because he's taking an oath with the state to be tax exempt so that he can have those food banks. He can go to the Atlanta Food Bank and he can fill up his pantry for free and give it to the community and so on and so forth. Why? Because he's taking that oath with the state to be tax exempt. This 501c3 tax exempt designation is exactly why the church is not an agent for truth anymore. In the 1960s, the bus boycott that was successful in Birmingham, the church was a staging area for them to organize against those white people that were terrorizing them and oppressing them. So the church was infiltrated with Lyndon B. Johnson, right? He got a lot of the black clergy, they know for what? That Cadillac, for having that substance. So when they subscribe to this 501c3 tax exempt status, yes, their church will be given certain material substance and subsidies,
Yes.
but they cannot teach the Bible raw as it is ordained or as the Heavenly Father intended for a service to teach you. Right? So hey, they can give you water to feed your body, but they can't give you the water to wash your mind. Right? And you know, when you look at the church, if you're LGBT, they say come as you are. Right?
Come as you are.
Where is come as you are in the Bible? Right? Give me this in Sirach 15 and 20. Right? Come as you are. Where's the scripture on that? You don't come as you are. I can't come into church with coochie cutters on with my husband. A faggot can't come into church with, you know, women's apparel on. You have full-blown transvestites, full-blown Tyler Perrys. Men wearing women's apparel in the church.
Oh, let's say Tyler Perry's gay.
I said that one more time, Jake.
Tyler Perry's gay.
So you're saying he's gay in real life?
Yeah, he's gay in real life. Have you noticed?
Oh, I agree with you. I agree with you. I got that memo. Yeah, Tyler Perry is gay.
Yes.
You know, the Bible in Deuteronomy 22:5 says a man should not wear that which pertains to a woman.
Exactly.
Going all the way back to Flip Wilson. Are you old enough to remember Flip Wilson? Because way before you had the Madea character,
Yes.
you had Flip Wilson way back in the 60s.
Yeah.
He had a character that he played called Geraldine.
Yes.
But this was in the 60s where men were wearing women's apparel, acting really feminine. But
Yeah.
you know, you are right. It say a man may be known by his look in Sirach 19 to 29, I believe. Right? You could bring out what you got, Sirach 15 and 20.
This is Sirach 15 and 20.
Because when the church tells you to come as you are, I'm pretty much telling you that God gave you a license to do what you want to do.
That's not true.
We're going to bring that out. Bring out what you got.
Sirach 15. You said 15?
Yeah, come as you are. Meaning, no matter what condition, no matter how you're dressed, no matter your behavior, come. That doesn't jive with the Bible, right? Bring out what you got.
Sirach 15 and 20.
Listen to this.
He hath commanded no man to do wickedly.
Hey, because the church, they don't tell you where you're going off according to the Bible. Sin is what? Sin is...
Transgression of the law.
Huh?
Transgression.
1 John 3 and 4 tells us that sin is transgression of the law.
Exactly. Yeah.
So when you go to church, the preacher is supposed to be telling you to obey the law.
Yeah.
Not come as you are, which is do according to your heart's lust. Right? That's why the church is the way it is now. You don't have a standard. You have LGBT, you have women preachers, you have adultery, all type of pedophilia and all type of, you know, sexual deviance in the church. Right? Why? Because you're not supposed to come as you're supposed to come correct. Right? Bring this out one more time.
Sirach 15 and 20.
Come.
He hath commanded no man to do wickedly, neither hath he given any man license to sin.
Hey, it said he commanded no man to do wickedly, neither has he given a man license to sin. Sin is transgressing the law. So if I tell you that you could eat a pork chop sandwich, am I giving you a license to sin?
Yes, you will.
I'm giving you a warrant to go totally contrary to the ways of the Bible. Right, bring this out one more time for the brother.
Sirach 15 and 20.
Listen to this.
He hath commanded no man to do wickedly, neither have he given any man license to sin.
Because the church, they'll tell you to come as you are. They'll give you a license to come in there, and they push slackness. They don't push the fear of the Lord. They don't push, if you don't, get this in Deuteronomy 22 and 5, right? Because in the law, that's the first 5 books of the Bible. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, and the book of Numbers, and the book of Deuteronomy. That's the 5th book. This is the law on how we're supposed to observe or conduct ourselves. Because a part of our civil law, it has a dress code, right? So you have civil laws, over 613 laws on how we're supposed to conduct ourselves, but in the 613 laws, we have a dress code. And one thing about Easter Sunday in the Christian church, it's all about fashion, right? You could rival a Paris damn runway on Easter Sunday. But a lot of that fashion that they're wearing up in there is what you would call unacceptable, impermissible, unclean. A woman shouldn't be able to show her thighs, her cleavage. That provokes you to lust. Here it is, you up in the church with your woman, minding your own business, and here come sister so-and-so with a tight pencil skirt on with her cleavage out. No, that is unacceptable. That's against the dress code, right? Bring this out real quick, Deuteronomy 22:5.
Deuteronomy 22:5.
Done.
The woman shall not wear that which pertaineth unto man. Neither shall a man put on a woman's garment.
Hey, because a woman will wear pants with a zipper on them. Why you need a zipper? Because, hey, that doesn't pertain to you. A dress pertains to a woman. Why? Because it complements her body. You know, different aspects of her femininity. The clothes in the scriptures, it already covers the hard part. You know, you wear a dress for multiple reasons, and it'll actually benefit you. You don't wear pants as a woman for multiple reasons. It's going to work against you. Just like a man in this society. You know, men wearing these tight pants with their whole booties out. Right?
That's the agenda. That's the LBGQ agenda. That's an agenda, yeah.
Right, but that's unclean apparel. Right? You shouldn't see another man's nakedness. Right? Those boxers are underwear. That's what you wear inside your house in your room. Why am I seeing your drawers? Right? That's not, you know, just like you see in a woman's bra. They'll walk out here with pajamas, stuff that they're supposed to wear in the bed, but they'll wear it out and about.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Which is out of order as well.
Oh, you know why you see young folks and some folks wearing the pants around? That came from the prison, you know that, right?
Yeah, it's prison culture.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. They advertise it.
Yeah, yes, advertising, yes.
Right, but you know, that's what the so-called white man does. He seduces them, and you know, they promote a lot of the rappers. They'll have them, because they're influential, they'll have them wear it. Because there's a link between the music industry and also the prison industrial complex.
Yes.
You have a lot of people that invest in the music industry and invest in prison as well.
Yeah.
Because just like depopulation, them influencing our women to partake in LGBT, or our men do that, it's gonna bring our numbers down. The same thing where if a man is influenced to think that wearing his booty out makes him look more cute or makes him look more like a gangster, then that's going to fill up the jail or the graveyard.
You said that key word, depopulation. Did you know that started years ago?
It's
That depopulation that you just mentioned, that started years ago.
I mean, you have to understand it goes way back to Egypt.
Yeah.
Because you have to understand Moses, his name, Moses means drawn forth from the water.
Okay.
Because during the time of Moses' birth, you had a king that was trying to kill all of the firstborn sons.
Yeah,
so his mother put him on the water in hopes that he survives. And an Egyptian woman sent her Hebrew maid to pull Moses from the water at a time when they were trying to ethnically cleanse. That's one thing about Planned Parenthood, the abortion clinics.
Yes.
The number one cause of death among so-called black men is abortion, where they are trying to do what? Influence our women to go into these buildings and kill the babies wholesale. And now they are trying to even extend the date where they could kill the baby to a week after birth. A week after they birth. Now they were talking about the third trimester. That's when a woman's stomach is damn near 2/3, 9 months. So 6 months, they want to kill the baby after you feel the kicking and everything. But now they're trying to extend that time to kill the baby to after it's actually exited the matrix. So the same way you had the birthing stools in Egypt, where they would sit the Israelite women, because the Heavenly Father put it in our spirit to be fruitful and multiply. All Israelite men have a high sex drive. Men be jacking off and cheating on this woman. Why? Because one is not enough. Even though in this time, in this society, we wouldn't tell you to get one. But this is just to let you know, within the Israelite man's spirit, we have the desire to be fruitful and multiply, procreate. We can look at women and we have that desire to lay seed, and to train up the child in the way that they should go. And in ancient Egypt, Pharaoh was always having to deal with us wisely. We went into Egypt 40 spirits and we left out a great multitude. So it was plenty of times when Pharaoh had to implement the birthing stools. Planned Parenthood, or where the abortion clinics, go back to ancient Egypt, where they would try to do what? Curb our population numbers, because they understand that they don't want us to get mightier than them. They said if it wasn't for the abortion clinic, there would be between 80 million and 100 million niggas in America right now. Because the abortion started back in the 1960s with women's liberation. You know, Gloria Steinem, or what you call feminism.
Oh,
you know, that whole movement where
it was a scam. It's really a scam.
it's all to the war strategy. Just like feminism is a war strategy, just like church is a war strategy to keep our people docile and submissive, just like giving the women power over the men, giving them authority. But the scriptures tell us that a woman would surpass a man, that a woman would surpass a man in household earnings, head of household, education. You know, they go to colleges and they boast about, you know, coming out of those institutions. But this was all prophesied, right? Bring this precept out one more time, Papa Sharp.
This is 2 Corinthians 2 and 11.
Come.
Let's 2 Corinthians 2 and 11. Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices.
Hey, that's his schemes. The different plans that he conjures up to, you know, and get this in Micah 2. Matter of fact, bring this out first, then bring this out in Micah 2. Right? It said that we're not ignorant of his devices, his schemes, his plans that he conjures up in the dark. Right?
2 Corinthians 2 and 11. Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices.
Get this in Psalm 64 real quick. We're not ignorant of his devices. And one device that he has, as well as, you know, these different maxims or vaccines, right? Those are the devices that he's using to be to our detriment. Right here it is. They don't know the long-term or short-term effects of these experimental vaccines, these different inoculations, right? Even the pharmaceutical companies, they saying that they're not taking any liability if you suffer vaccination damage. But they understand that they don't, these are experiments. For you to find a vaccine to a particular illness, that could take between 5 to 8 years to do the different trials and things necessary to saying that, hey, this vaccine is effective. But this is exactly what they've been doing over the past 2 years. So many people have died from doing what? Taking these different experimental vaccines, these different schemes that they roll out to do what? Bring the numbers down. You know what I'm saying? From 5G technology to the chemtrails in the sky, so-called barium oxide, to the fluoride in the water and in the toothpaste, to the food being laden with all type of hormones and pesticides and herbicides. They are all to our detriment. The so-called white man will not give you anything for free that is going to be a benefit to us. And truthfully, it's nothing that he has that can benefit us. That's why the Bible tells us to separate from the so-called white man and gather together in the book of Zephaniah 2. Right? You got your question.
Don't that Bible says, are we ye not separate?
Oh, get Leviticus 20:20. Matter of fact, be ye separate.
Are we ye not separate? Yes.
Right, we'll go ahead and bring it out. Get it in Leviticus 20 and 26 for the brother. The Bible, he said that he severed us from the nations.
Separate, yeah.
Be ye separate, right? Which means holy, set apart.
Yes, exactly.
And we'll bring that out for you real quick. Yes, the Bible tells us to be separate.
Exactly. Yeah.
The Bible is a racist document, right? The Bible is a separatist document. The Bible, right? It tells us how God has a chosen people. So if you have 5 of something, you have 5 pair of shoes, but you have a pair of blue suede shoes. Are you wrong for having a favorite? Everyone has a favorite. You have a favorite restaurant. You probably have a favorite hat. But God, guess what? The same way he put that in our spirit, to be very selective, to be exclusionary, he's the same exact way. And you can bring it out when you get in Leviticus 20 and 26.
Leviticus 20 and 26. And ye shall be holy unto me, for I, the Lord, I am holy, and have severed you from other people, that ye should be mine.
Hey, he said that he severed you from the nations, from the other people. It is in 2 Corinthians 6 and 17. So he said, that's what it is to be chosen. That's what it is to be given a law. Because in this present time, people don't look at us as though we are what you would call a part of a commonwealth, or we're, the word is right there in my mind. We're sovereign. They don't look at us as though we're sovereign. They look at us as if we're prisoners of war. We're yet this day in our captivity. But a part of being sovereign is to have your own land, your own God, your own constitution, your own laws, statutes, and commandments. Right? This is what makes us separate. This is how he severed you. I severed you by giving you a code of conduct, a constitution on how you should observe yourself, that they don't have to observe. They're not under the law, so they're not going to be observed by the law. See, a so-called Chinese man can eat as much pork as he likes, but he's not going to be having that gout and that high blood pressure because he's not under the law, right? The so-called white man, he can shave and he don't get those razor bumps because not cutting around the corners of your beard is not a part of their law. They're lawless. The so-called white man's law is what? Do as thou wilt. You know, it's Aleister Crowley, going back to white, whatever feels good at the time. Aleister Crowley.
Can I say something about Aleister
Go
Crowley?
ahead.
He was a Mason, wasn't he?
Huh?
He was a Mason, wasn't he?
Yeah. He was a part of the mystic system in Europe. The Golden Dawn and so on and so forth. But what we call witchcraft.
Yeah, witchcraft, yeah, exactly.
Because Masonry is witchcraft.
Yes, okay, yeah, I understand.
I can't. Well, this is good, you know, about Aleister Crowley. Because he came up with that expression, do as thou wilt.
Yeah.
You know, and you want to have sex with a child?
Yeah, he
You want to have sex with a dead body? So on and so forth. They look at themselves as God. They say that there's no God. So who's supposed to govern them, that demon inside of them? See, our hearts are deceitful and wickedness dwells inside of us, but we have something to actually rebuke ourselves against. You know, if you look at that man's wife, you know that shit is off. Although you have the ability to look, you can condemn yourself. You can rebuke yourself with this. You have a standard. The so-called white man, he's off the leash. Whatever he does, there's no subconscious mind rebuking him.
This is Micah 2:10. Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, because it is polluted. It shall destroy you, even with a sore destruction.
Hey, the scriptures tell us to arise and depart, for this is not our rest. Right here, this is Zephaniah 2. I've been quoting that all day. Arise and depart, for this is not your rest. Because a lot of people, they look at America, Babylon, or wherever we're scattered, as a place where we should try to find some socio-economical base. You know, Jake always want to talk about, you know, we at the bottom, we languishing. Let's put our money together. Let's get some farmland. You know, let's put our money together and open up some businesses. As if this hasn't been tried before. You know, Black Wall Street, they did all of that, right? But was this their rest? No, they didn't have a standing military. So the so-called white man, he told us to go back to Africa. So the niggas left. They went to Tulsa, Oklahoma, Rosewood. It's a lot of different models. And when we were separate from the white man, we thrived during the time of what you call segregation, where we had our own communities, because a community is that in which you control the economics. I go to you to buy my bread, you come to me to buy your clothes, and we self-sustain. Our dollar circulates and it stays, you know, like the Jews do, like the Italians do, like the Japanese do in this present time. They endorse and patronize one another. But when it comes down to the Lord's people, this is not our rest. You can see all the nations work together. The Chinese man can work with the white man. But when it comes down to these people on this side, hey, we're under the curses of Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter. We have an evil eye for our brother. We got to go to our enemies for the one of all things. First fire, last hire, right? But the brother said, this is not our rest. We weren't brought to America to achieve the American dream, right? Baruch 3:8, bring that out real quick. And then we could jump to Zephaniah 2, right? But we weren't brought to America to ball out. Atlanta is the world's busiest airport after the 1996 Olympics. So you have all nations represented here. You have people migrating here from third world countries to try to do what? Achieve the American dream. They want to come here and learn democracy, feminism, right? But hatred of the so-called black man. That's at the precipice of America's Constitution.
What's that? Elon Omar?
Say again?
Elon Omar, the
Elon Musk.
No, Elon Omar. She's a Democrat representative. She's Muslim. I think that's what her name is. Yeah.
Right.
I think she hates us.
All right. Well, that's Ishmael. Her nation is Ishmael. And in the book of Romans, it said that Ishmael is at war with us to this day.
Yeah.
They come out of Abraham, but they're not the chosen seed out of Abraham. But they do have power in the earth. It said 12 princes would come out of Ishmael. So